Hamburger, I see y'all are joining me again. I apologize for the technical difficulty. It seems to me that Amber Geiger is doing what folks call lying on the stand. That's perjury because her testimony goes to the truth of the matter. There's no blood on her, and I haven't been able to watch the full thing. And I know that some of y'all are toggling between me and Amber Geiger. We haven't seen the whole thing. Amber Geiger doesn't seem to have any blood on her whatsoever. Now, if you shoot somebody in the heart and the bullet goes down, blood is everywhere. Did you see the gauze that they showed that were left and when they took the pictures? Blood is everywhere, yet no blood on Amber Geiger. So she didn't administer CPR. She didn't do anything. She left that man dead, dying in the apartment while she talked on the phone. 16 full minutes she texted with her partner slash superior officer slash lover. The same guy she was running around here showing a hoo-ha and like grandmama say your bosoms, that same person is who Amber Geiger was texting after she shot Botham Jean. She had no blood on her. She did not administer CPR. Had she administered CPR, she would have been covered in blood. It is highly unusual, irregular, and downright sound like a lie that anything else would have been going on. And I think that that's extremely important for us to talk about because this woman is lying on the stand. That's called perjury. And you can be convicted of perjury. She did not do the things that she's saying. All right. Now let's get to the neighbors. Because she had neighbors that said one said, I told you earlier, he said he could often hear Botham Jean singing. We also heard neighbors say they did not hear any verbal commands. We also heard one neighbor say, I don't even know why she was on there for the prosecution. I'm sure she threw them for a loop because she was not helpful. She said that she wouldn't have been able to hear through the walls anyway. Well, I think the prosecution should have challenged her on that because you can hear yelling. Now, it may be inaudible. You may not be able to hear what they're saying, but are we supposed to believe that the Southside Flats are soundproof? Oh, I don't think so. If a police officer is yelling, get on the ground, put your hands up now, let me see your hands. And she testified today that that's what they say, let me see your hands. So had she been doing that, they would have heard that. No one heard it. And no one heard it because it did not happen. That's not what happened. Now, we also had people saying that that Amber Geiger was not heard. We heard them say that, she was lost. Now, let's get to David Armstrong. I think this is important. In 2017, David Armstrong, who sat on the stand and said that Amber Geiger should not be charged with anything, who is also the person who said that Amber Geiger should be charged with manslaughter when he wrote his arrest warrant, killed someone in a traffic accident, which was his fault, in 2017. He killed a 31-year-old man. He was driving at a speed of 84 miles per hour. He was coming from the Mexican border where he had been doing some kind of police tactical something. I'm not well versed in the things that they do as a Texas Ranger. I do know years ago there was a lot of talk about how they had been practicing to implement martial law at the Texas border, which would have been where he was coming from. But I have no way of knowing if that's what he was doing. Just saying. So with that being said, David Armstrong killed a man in 2017. Now, you say, okay, sometimes things happen. Let me tell you, he was driving at 84 miles per hour. That exceeds every speed limit in the state of Texas. The fastest you can go in the state of Texas is 75 miles per hour. There is also a policy within the Texas Rangers. Anytime you're coming from these tactical duties at the border, you are required to have a 6-hour rest. It was common knowledge that he had a well-established practice that he never rested the 6 hours. He always left right after, which violates their policy, their internal policy of protocol. Okay. When he did that, then he, racing at 84 miles per hour, killed someone. Okay. In killing this person in Permont, Texas, the city of Permont was not allowed to conduct the investigation. The investigation was taken over by the troopers. Who handles the troopers? Not DPD. Where you get your driver's license. I can't think of what that's called. I'm so sorry. That's who took over so that they could exonerate him and suggest that there was no wrongdoing, even though he exceeded the speed limit, even though he had not followed protocol. He was not charged, and the man died 5 days after the accident. All right. And I'm sorry, I said in 2017. I apologize. I believe it was prior to 2017, because in 2017, so I misspoke, and let me get my thoughts right, because I want to be accurate. In 2017, David Armstrong was demoted for having, I think, a nefarious affair with the spouse of a murder victim in which he was investigating the case. I think that's ultimately extremely important that you all know that, because they have a history of sleeping around and sexting, and I mean this has gotten just horrible. Now he's not going to find fault with her, and he should not have been the person to investigate, because he's not going to find fault, and he's not going to find fault because this is kind of what they do. This is kind of how they get down. I'm going around here dropping it low and spreading it wide, and whatever happens, and I'm around here hooking up with my supervisor / partner. Well, I don't know if he's supervisor, superior officer / partner / lover, and they're all. It's such a cover up, and I think that it's important for you to know that this cover up really goes to the truth of the matter, because if we look at all of the things that have taken place, and then we look at who they're putting their faith in, because keep in mind that today, outside of the jury, so a lot of what you are seeing on these watch parties that I'm hosting, and all of the things that the news is releasing, that's outside the purview of the jury. So what you're hearing, the jury is not hearing. So they did not hear that the judge says, you know what, he's not an expert witness, and she's going to make a ruling. They're going to have a hearing later to determine whether or not he's an expert witness. They are not hearing that. And the judge will have the hearing, then she'll make a determination. And they can make a determination that some of the things that David Armstrong said could be within his expert opinion, and other things could not. And then you have to think to yourself, well, does that make sense that he's an expert witness? Because what is he an expert witness in? Because remember, the defense came up and said that he conducted this experiment. What experiment? An experiment is scientific. So if you, at some point you just gotta have to laugh. An experiment is scientific. Opening and closing a door is not scientific. That's not an experiment. So are they going to suggest that he is has this experiment with the door? And so he's not a locksmith, so he's not an expert there. So what exactly are we talking about? When they talk about the trajectory of the bullet, he's not an expert witness there. You have crime scenes and forensics that took the stand to talk about that, and they determined that the bullet went down. So what would David Armstrong be an expert in? And why are we allowing him to be an expert when he has shown that he will conduct immoral relationships and affairs, even during an investigation? They should be held to a higher standard. They are not. They have allowed David Armstrong to take the stand, and he was put on the stand by the state. His prior record has not come in. One of the things you do in court is you discredit a witness that you believe is going to be for the defense. If he is a state trooper, if he wrote the arrest warrant and said that she should be charged with manslaughter, and later comes on the stand and says, I don't think she should be charged with anything, then the state has the opportunity and the ability and clearly the capability, because this lead prosecutor has been doing this a mighty long time, babies. He had the opportunity to charge him, to handle him, to ask the court for permission to treat him as a hostile witness. Because at that time, he is his witness and he is turned and he's now driving this for the defense. He could have treated him as a hostile witness and started to attack his character. Because I just told you, he had an affair in 2017 and was demoted because of this nefarious affair that he had with the spouse of a murder victim. He was investigating the murder. And then he killed a 31-year-old man driving at speeds over the traffic limit, 84 miles per hour, violated department protocol, did not rest the 6 hours that's required, and he got off. That alone discredits him, and the state is not bringing that up. Now, if I found it, I know damn well they did. I mean, y'all, I'm good. And I've been known to pull a rabbit out of my hat every now and then, but I'm no magician. And I'm telling you, something is wrong here. Something's wrong on all sides. Something is afoot, as they say. So this is what we know, coming from everything that's happened. We know that David Armstrong is not a credible witness and has not been challenged by the state. I think I've drilled that home. Y'all saying, please don't tell me again. I got it. I know you do. David Armstrong. What? Okay, let me just stop for a minute. I know I'm going to digress. Why do all state troopers talk like that? And Texas Rangers? Why do they talk like that? Why do they all sound like good old boys, no matter what kind of skin they're clothed in? I think this is, baby, they got the right one. All right, let's deal with this 911 tape, okay? Amber Guyger is saying the whole time, I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. Oh my God, I thought it was my apartment. I couldn't tell. I thought it was my apartment. Listen, I have never killed anybody. Lord say the same, it'll never happen. My mouth to God's ear. I have never killed anyone, but I would think if I walked in, shot somebody, realized it was not my apartment, I would be saying things like, oh my God, he needs help. I need help now. Help, help. I'd be yelling out the door, help, help. I need a nurse, a doctor, anybody. Help, help. She said she needed help. But most of the time she was saying, I thought it was my apartment. She's substantiating the fact. Remember I started this thing? I know we had a relaunch and we fell apart and y'all gonna have to get this in 2 parts. But remember I started this thing by talking about mistaken in fact. And mistaken in fact means that a reasonable person would have made the same mistake. We also have to deal with the reasonableness of how you handle a situation. Now, granted, everybody's not gonna handle a situation the same way. And I'm not suggesting that. But what I am suggesting is she has specialized training that the rest of us don't have. She said on the stand today that she didn't take CPR. I was like, Scooby-Doo. What? You don't know CPR? Lifeguards take CPR and they're 12, 13, 15 years old. So you mean to tell me a Dallas police officer has no CPR training? She's on a specialized unit. I keep saying it. If it don't make sense, it's a lie somewhere. But let me get back on task, y'all. Let me get back on task. Now, where we are now is this 911. Okay, she said, I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. Thought it was my apartment. I don't remember hearing anywhere, are you doing CPR? The 911 operator did not ask. A trained police officer would state, he's shot in the heart. What? She never even asked what to do. You hear people, when you get these tapes, years ago, it was a girl who didn't do the right thing, and she was a 911 operator. She was actually Royce West, the state senator's daughter, but I went to school with her, but I've digressed. She messed up, and then she said, well, it was something about, well, did you administer CPR? And the person was like, well, you didn't tell me about CPR, and it was people in the house burning. They never asked her was she admit. This woman says, I am a police officer. Okay, she says that. No one asked about CPR. She doesn't offer information about CPR. She says she did administer CPR, but she's not covered in blood. I know I beat that home prior to us getting what the technical term for what happened to us is jacked up. So now we have Amber Guyger, and she's steady saying, I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. After she gets off the phone with 911, we know she's texting her and not sexting her partner / lover. We know that there is a blonde woman that's on him as they're wheeling him out, and once believed to be Amber Guyger. We now know that is not the case. The 911 tape is to substantiate the fact that she thought she was in the wrong place, and to substantiate her presence of mind at the time. The problem with this 911 tape, and there's so many problems with it, she called on her phone. She didn't call on her radio. She had her utility belt. She did not call on her radio. Trained police officer doesn't call 911 unless they're out of range of their radio, they don't have it readily at hand. She didn't follow any of the protocols that a police officer would follow because they use their radio. They use their radio. They use their badge number. They know who they are, where they are. If she had said, I'm at my apartment, I thought it was my apartment. She said she went outside to look where she was. I find that odd that she said on the stand today that she didn't realize where she was until she went outside at the behest of the 911 operator to look at the door. I said earlier, the light was right next to her. If you walk into a dark place, all that's illuminated is a TV that you didn't leave on, and you see a dark silhouette, you cut on the light. You cut on the light. Now they're trying to say she has all this stuff on her arm. But the stuff was left in the place near him. So are we to believe somebody cut it on? I think that goes to the truth of the matter that she came around. Why this woman shot this man, I don't know. But I know it's a lot of improprieties and it doesn't make sense. But let's go back to the 911 tape. We hear all of that, and we never hear anybody say anything about 911. About CPR. She says she did. She's not covered in blood. And the only thing that we can be sure of is she continues to say, I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. You know what I hear when she says that? I hear cover up. I hear, let me get my story straight. I hear, let me hurry up and get this out. Because there's no, oh my God, we need help, we need help, we need help. That, as many times as she said, I thought it was my apartment, you would think she would be saying, send help, where are they? I need help right now. You would think she would open the door and scream for help. The door that's left ajar, the door that does not close fully. Oh, I'm sorry. Armstrong and his scientific experiment said it closes sometimes. I think that they are suggesting, the defense is suggesting that he ducked down and that's how the bullet went down. I think a truer thing was that he cowered. The time frame has not been established, and I don't know if it can be, from the time that she actually discharged her weapon, what time people think they heard it, and when the 911 call came in. I have not heard that. Perhaps while I'm talking to you now, that is exactly what the state's doing, and I would hope so, because I think that that's of critical importance. I think it's extremely important to know from the time that the 911 call initiated to the time that they hear the bullets discharge. Aside from that, I want to talk about her having this utility belt on. That was not in her hand. That was actually on her person. Now, she says she keeps her right hand free so that she always has the ability to grab her weapon in the case that she needs to discharge. On her utility belt, she had a taser and she had pepper spray. Now, you will hear law enforcement say, well, no, you don't use pepper spray or you don't use a taser if you feel like you're in imminent danger. The reason that I find that so hard to believe or hard to grasp, and it's hard for me to frame it and put it in context, is the fact that the entire house did not look like hers. His ironing board was up. His house was junky. He looked like his house was like a bachelor pad. He's a 28-year-old kid, a boy. Y'all know how these little boys keep their house. He doesn't keep house. He waits till his mama or his sister or somebody coming, and then he tries to get it together. But and when you Look, I'm gonna go a little further. You know when somebody's been in your house, right? You can feel it, right? The door is ajar. Let her tell it. You don't open that door. The door is ajar. You call for backup because you don't know what's in there. You don't know how many people are in there. I would think a police officer with specialized training would not enter the place, would wait and call for backup, because what if it's not one person in there? What if it's 12? I mean, it doesn't make sense what she's saying. But okay, the medical examiner, because I talked about the trajectory of the bullet, the medical examiner testified that the bullet went into his chest and traveled downward, stopping in a muscle near his spine. Now, the prosecutors are saying that he was sitting on the couch. The defense is saying that he was lunging towards her. Remember, I talked about this mistaken in fact and what a reasonable person would do when they make a mistake, but I said they kind of using it as a smorgasbord. They're borrowing from the castle. You don't have to leave your house. You have a right to defend your house. Now, she can't really use the castle defense because it's not her house. That's why they need mistaken in fact. But I told you, it's like the Golden Corral defense system because they're borrowing from it. It's used like a smorgasbord. Well, in doing that, they are saying because she believed that she was in her house, she had a right to defend herself. So this is kind of a hodgepodge way of getting to self-defense. So let's deal with day 3 of the medical examiner's testimony. The medical examiner says the bullet went down, which would suggest she is standing up over him when she discharges her weapon. Now, listen, we also know from the young woman who had served for 5 years on the police department that she took pictures of the room and took pictures of one that was far back and then one that was close up of the hole in the wall from where I believe it would make sense that it would be the first bullet, right? First bullet misses, second bullet hits it. It's across the room at the wall. So the defense is going to say the first bullet went here, but it doesn't make sense that he went back and sat on the couch and started watching TV. So no, he's cowering. He's shutting himself off, shutting down, kneeling towards the floor in a cowardly position. Now, I am not calling this man a coward. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm saying the behavior that anyone would take if someone is going to shoot you is to cower in your posture. It's because you're trying to protect yourself as best you can because you're completely unarmed. And remember, he's in his underwear. Now, that bullet traveling down would only suggest that he went down. Now, the defense is saying he ducked. So the bullet goes here, he ducks, she shoots it. So, because she's lunging towards him. That's why it was so important to really talk about where the shoes were. They talked about these flip-flops. Now, Judge Tammy Kemp decided that they were not letting the flip-flops come in. Now, all of this is outside the jury. We're seeing it because you all are either watching my live or watching the news or, because they're streaming live as well. So they're trying to say this is where the flip-flops were positioned, and this is where, and so this is where he was. Now, this is what I don't understand. If this would have been day 3 and yesterday, I believe, but I think it was outside the jury. His body was not in the kitchen area or, where the door, adjacent to the door, where, you open the door and that little walkway where you get to the door of the kitchen is to, it would have been, if you're standing at the door of the kitchen, would have been, from the pictures, would have been to the right, and then the couch and the TV would have been to the left. He is by the couch. His body was revived by the couch. We know that because EMT told us that they had to move the ottoman. So did she drag the body back to the position by the couch? I don't understand why the prosecution is not dealing with that fact. They keep saying, where were the flip-flops? And it just seems to me that they're not attempting to really establish things that make sense to me and would make sense to you. If the body is by the couch and he's sitting by the couch, then she shot him on the couch. Okay, so let's talk about why they're not going that way. Because the thought is that he was walking to the door. Okay, remember when I told you NBC5 Bay Area said that Amber Geiger had to put her stuff down and was putting her key in the lock? They also reported that he opened the door. He opened the door. That's how she gained access. None of that has come in, and they're not saying any of that. So none of this is evidentiary. All of this would typically be speculation because these are the first accounts. Now, do we believe the news? Well, that's for you to make a determination. But that has been said that he heard somebody messing around his door and he opened the door. Now, if she shot where the bullet went into the room, then he would have been running away and she shot him again. Then does that mean that she's telling the truth and that she was actually mistaken? Well, if that's what happened, then she would have said that. That's what they said at first. Then they got them a story together. And they said, so that first account about her putting the things down and him opening the door, we don't know. Because I could come up with several theories just from that. But what we do know is that she says the door was ajar and she opened it. I think that's the worst way for the defense to go, actually. They would have done better saying he opened the door, he startled her, and she shot. But let me tell you why they didn't do that. They didn't say she put her stuff down. She was trying to put a key in the lock. It sounded like somebody was jimmying the lock to him. He opened the door and then she shot because they stated that they had sent out from the apartment complex that maintenance was going to be there. So you already should be thinking someone might be in your apartment because maintenance. Remember, she took her little dog Ranger to her mom's house that Saturday, because now she works on Sundays at the Good Baptist Church. She's such a humanitarian. And so she took her dog there because maintenance was coming and she didn't want her dog to get out. So it was reasonable for her to believe, if she sees the door ajar, that it was possibly maintenance and no need for her to be alarmed. She walks in and she sees the light is off and she sees a silhouette. She never turns on the light. If you knew that maintenance was supposed to be in there, even if it's dark, maybe maintenance is turning off the light and getting ready to walk out. You would not shoot. You would turn the light on. She did not turn the light on. What I am saying to you is nothing in this story makes sense. And the prosecution has this case is as weak as baby piss. They rested after 4 days, shocked the super hell out of everybody. Nobody was prepared for that, including the defense, but moreover, the judge. Now, I am not saying that the prosecution is trying to throw this case. What I am saying is that I don't think they have a stronger case as they could have. So let's talk about why I'm saying that. Because here is the thing that gets me more than anything. People were heard her saying, open the door. None of that has come in. Now, you can decide, I don't believe Lee Merritt. That's fine. I mean, that's for you to make a determination. And unfortunately, we are trying this case in the court of public opinion. And that is for the trier of fact or the jury to make these decisions. But we know that people reached out to Lee. Lee is a friend of this show. I think I need to disclose that. Many of you know that I consider him a friend, and I think he considers me a friend, and we don't always agree. However, he did say that he had to force the Texas Rangers to take the statements, which means he's got receipts. He can produce the statements and the persons who made those claims about they heard her beating on the door. Now you say, well, why would she be beating on the door? I do not know. There has been a suggestion that Amber Geiger had reported Botham Jean for weed smoking. So let's go back to this car when she pulled over to the side and she was over here exposing her bosom or her hoo-ha, talking about you want to touch with her partner / lover / superior officer, Martin Rivera. The same Martin Rivera that killed a kid who was simply had a candy bar and nothing happened to him. I want to reiterate that. Now, she pulls over to the side. I think she got some bad news because he had to be with the family because they were at a Boy Scouts event. It was going to be hard for him to pull away. She's upset. smells weed smoke, goes to the apartment, doesn't go like she wants to, and she shoots. I don't know. That's one theory. Doesn't mean it's true. What I do know is that this story does not make sense. And if it don't make sense, well, my grandmama say, yeah, there's a lie somewhere. We know that there's one account that says she put her things down. That's her first account. That she put her things down and put a key in the lock. He opens the door. Okay. If she shot the direct trajectory of the first bullet, which we believe is the first bullet, because I don't see her shooting him, he fall onto the ground, and then she shoot in the wall. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it's the first bullet, and then she shoots him. If he's running away from her and cowering, he doesn't pose a threat. So she had no reason to shoot him. If you in the place and you think somebody's there, you turn on the light. She believed that maintenance was coming. We also know that the door was ajar, that so based on her account, yet her key was photographed in the door. If the door is ajar, what you need your key for? It's so much about this case that's utterly ridiculous that I haven't had a chance to listen to the whole thing. I know y'all will listen to me and I'm hosting a watch party, but there is nothing about this case. And I have broken this case down from September 6th to today. There is absolutely nothing about this case that makes sense. Her account of what happened doesn't make sense. And now the jury has to make a determination. Would a reasonable person, because the law deals with knew or reasonably should have known, okay? You knew that maintenance was coming. There's a reasonable inference that maybe the door is ajar because maintenance is in there. You gonna shoot and kill the maintenance people? I think not. Oh, I don't know. Maybe she just trigger happy child. She on some Zimmerman type ish. But I don't think that's the case. We also know that they did not charge her with a crime, actually get her statement until she was arrested 3 days late, 4 days later. Let's look, because we got that. So we know that she was actually charged on September 9th, 3 days later, when Chief Hall says, if you don't turn yourself in, when she calls her attorney and tells her, if you don't turn yourself in, I'm going to have her picked up. That is how she ended up at Kaufman County, because they were holding out. They were still trying to get their story together. We know that Brandon Birmingham, the judge, he's going to be asking y'all in Dallas County for your votes, and y'all have to make a decision. Because, right after he did this, he showed up at an event that's considered a Black event and was like, hey, I'm a friend of y'all's. Okay. We all got upset and said they're trying to disparage his character. But what they were really trying to do was go and get her belongings, her heavy vest, her lunch kit, and her backpack was still in the apartment. That's what they needed out of it. That's why they went to get the search warrant. And then lo and behold, they find some weed that's not even enough to get cited and released for. All right. We also know that during this time, as soon as she gets calls it in, the police come. We also know that Mike Mata takes out the car. They start talking. She's had 3 days to put this story together. We know the NBC Bay Area, not 5, NBC Bay Area tells one account. They later, J.D. Miles tells another account. Now Amber Ives telling another account, and it doesn't make sense. There is absolutely no reason to shoot and kill someone when you're startled and you're in the wrong apartment. Now, don't forget, we have David Armstrong, the same David Armstrong that was demoted in 2017 for having an affair with the spouse of a murder victim in which he was investigating the murder. The same David Armstrong who killed a 31-year-old man by breaking the speed limit and not honoring department protocol. The same David that said on the stand she should not be charged, the same David Armstrong that gave her a charge of manslaughter when he wrote the arrest warrant, said that 23% of those people that live in that apartment actually go to the wrong floor and or the wrong apartment. But have they killed anybody? That is completely unreasonable. And so the jury is ultimately going to make a decision about whether or not she acted reasonably when we talk about mistaken fact, and whether or not in that unreasonable, I'm saying it's unreasonable behavior, was it also reasonable to shoot and kill someone to defend yourself? She's defending herself in someone else's home, and they are saying that they're calling him the intruder. And I don't know how you intrude on your own home. At the very least, she was trespassing. And so I'm going to leave you with this one thought. When you get a ticket and you say, I thought the speed limit was 40, and they say, no, it's 30, ignorance of the law is no excuse. They still write you a ticket. The fact that she thought she was in the wrong place does not mean she acted reasonably when she shot and killed this man in his drawers while he was trying to eat ice cream and watch the game. All right, that was a lot. It was heavy. This is Coy with the Black Tea Sip. We'll do it again next Friday. We'll close this thing out. But I just want you all to keep in mind what happened from September 6th to today, because there are so many conflicting statements that have come from Amber Guyger, the police department, and media accounts, that I think all of that should be coupled together. Now, the jury won't have the opportunity to do that, and let's hope that this jury does right by us with the 5 African Americans, 4 Hispanic, 1 Asian, and 2 Caucasians, that they hold her accountable, because one of the greatest challenges in defense cases is that someone is dead, and that has to be made right. This is Coy. We'll do it again next Friday. Join me again. I know some of y'all got cut off. You can always catch the replay, and I'll try to catch the rest of the trial and make sure that I'm streaming. Diamonds, Pearls, and Jerry Curls. We'll do it again next Friday, and I'm out.
What's poppin'? This is Nine. And this is Bree. Catch our show, Jersey Meets Dallas, every Tuesday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Sure. Sorry about the technical difficulties.